call us to order at 5:34 p.m. If everyone will rise for the pledge, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you all for being here with us this evening. Mrs. Sandoval, roll call, please.
Dr. Shambo. Ms. Hunt Daly. Mr. Jaramillo.
Here.
Mr. Ortiz.
Mr. Ortiz, you're muted, sir.
Okay, am I there?
Yes.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay, here.
Mrs. Lee.
Present, we do indeed have a quorum. Adoption of the agenda for today. Board members, are there any changes, and if so, what? Superintendent Widener, do you have a recommendation, sir?
I recommend that we adopt the agenda for tonight.
Excellent. Board members, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I make the motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Presented. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. It has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Mr. Ortiz to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any need for discussion, board members? Hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval, please.
Mr. Jaramillo.
Here, yes.
Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Aye, the motion carries. Adoption of minutes for February 18th, 2025. Are there any amendments to the minutes? If so, what? All right, is there a recommendation, Mr. Widener?
I recommend that we adopt the minutes from our previous meeting.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, sir. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Mr. Ortiz and seconded by Mr. Jaramillo to approve the minutes from February 18th, 2025 as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval, please.
Mr. Jaramillo.
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Aye, the motion carries. Mrs. Sandoval, are there any citizens to address the board this evening?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. We will move on to recognitions. Mr. Widener.
So tonight is a great celebratory night. It's a good night. We have finally elected our new IPAC officers and leadership. And so I asked Mr. Valdo if he would come tonight and come introduce the IPAC leadership team.
Excellent. The camera, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Owen Walls, of course, University Inclusion Equity Coordinator for Jacksonville County Schools. Thank you, Madam President, for allowing me to speak this evening. It certainly has been a while. We've been trying for months to trying to get this established, this IPAC. We finally come to, like Mr. Widener said, celebratory event that's happened. It's not only Jacksonville County School Districts IPAC, it's the parents IPAC. It wasn't not only that we elected it, but the parents themselves elected the parents. So I just want to make that clear. All I'm here is just to make sure to guide them and assist them throughout the school year and throughout their tenure as their leadership takes on a 2-year tenure. This is coming. So I'll go and let them introduce themselves. We have our chair. Sorry, look out, see a bunch of faces. You come up, IPAC officer. Mr. Reed.
Good evening, I'm the IPAC chair, I'm Amanda Karate. I've worked for the district for 22 years. I am currently in Cibola. I have a son that attends there and an older son that previously attended the district. So we're hoping to make some positive improvements.
Excellent,
Hopefully go in the right direction and get things more cohesive.
excellent. Thank you.
My name is Michael Pino. I got elected to be the vice chair for IPAC. I've been involved in education for about 10 years, going on, roughly around 10 years or so. Currently here at Grants High School as a Title VI liaisons, one of them. I do have a daughter at LA, and then also have numerous other nieces and nephews throughout the district and particularly at Grants High School. Part of my goal is obviously to support the parents and the students, their needs. I'm a strong advocate in that area. I feel I'm confident to carry out whatever goals IPAC has set forth throughout my tenure during on this committee. I'm very, excited and eager to finally get back into it. I've been out of the loop for a while, but now that I'm back in terms of advocating, I do, I've been involved in a lot of committees throughout my years. So again, I look forward to working with all y'all in the future, and thank you again.
Excellent, thank you.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Elvis Halia. I am the teacher educator representative for Grants High School and Laguna Acoma High School. I'm happy to be here. This is my third go-round, and I'm going on my 6th year as an IPAC representative for the teachers. I guess I'm the only licensed teacher that can do this job. I don't know. This is my third term, but it's good to see all of you. I don't get to see you very often, but it's good to see you. Of course, I'm the Acoma Cares language teacher. So, having said that, Uyuye Erse, Jamihanos, the whole Awashis, the Stakimuto, Sekwa Awashis, the Tama Karage, there some the Ashia. And hopefully, I'll be here for a little while longer as one of your Caris teachers. Okay? Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tracy Zamora from the Pueblo of Laguna. I am a parent to 3 kids that attend Cibola County Schools. I have 2 younger kids attending Milan, and I have my oldest daughter attending Grants High School. Not only am I here for my kids, but I'm here for the kids that come into our system for Laguna Social Services. So I'm here to be here on their behalf as well. I'm employed with Laguna Social Services. I've been there for over 6 years now. I do have my degree in social work. I'm excited to be here. I participated in the Department of Laguna Ed parent committee as well a few years back. So I have somewhat of experience in that field, but I'm excited to be here. I plan to be here for our kids, our parents, our community members that, kids are looking forward to transitioning to Cibola County Schools. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you very much.
And my
Oh.
position is, secretary.
Thank you.
We do have a couple high school students that sit on IPAC to represent the students.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rico Valencia. I am from the Pueblo of Acoma. I am a current senior at Grants High School. I'm currently involved in an after-school program called Day, which is also known as the Future Fathers of America. I have a big passion for agriculture, and I kind of implemented that into my education. After I graduate high school, I am going to attend college in Las Cruces, where I will be working towards my bachelor's degree in agriculture. Right now, I am planning on intending to major in range science, which is pretty much the overview of land management and grazing. My overall impact of agriculture is learning from experiences that I grew up with. I am very interested in agriculture, so that is what I hope to continue as I get older. Overall, I'm honored and excited to be here as a student representative.
Excellent.
You know, I have big plans for a community garden and I wanna grow traditional crops and stuff.
That is
Okay.
one of the things that we hope to accomplish as well as within
We gotta make plans, man.
Yes.
Yes. Big plans.
Good evening, my name is Joaquin Gomez, Navajo. I am a sophomore at Grants High School, and I was chosen to be a student representative for this board meeting. And I'm looking forward to seeing what I'll be doing here and how I'll be participating.
Excellent. Thank you,
We're
Karen.
glad that you're here.
Yes, sir.
So that is all the IPAC. We're missing a couple more from Laguna Acoma High School. But of course, tonight's their award ceremony down at Alley High School, so that's what I'm missing from my son. But we're here regardless. Get IPAC moving forward and accomplish some goals and looking out for the betterment of our students within the district. So I'm glad they graciously accept their positions. And we look
Yes.
forward to, like I said, moving forward and making a big impact in the district this year. Let's remain the school year and of course the following school year as well.
Excellent.
Dylan,
Thank
can
you
we get
so
a
very much.
Picture of our IPAC officers and leadership.
That would be great.
This is a good wall.
So
I have all kinds of seats in my office and everything, Rico. Really? Yes, let's get to planting. It's time, right? Time to start growing crops.
Yeah, that's how I remember.
I gotta get my hug.
I'll come over here by Mr. Hall.
We're getting our windows.
Okay, we're ready? Say IPAC.
IPAC.
Oh, I thought that was appropriate.
I'm so glad that we have IPAC.
We are ecstatic, yes. Thank you all.
Thank you all so much. Greatly appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Go in my office. You know where it is, right?
Yes, sir. Go get
Go in there.
Harry.
There's-
You can turn the camera.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate you.
So we have parents, Mr. Valencia, Mr. Gomez, and you guys can stand. Parents. So thank you, board, appreciate your time this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Next, we have an action item.
We do.
And we're gonna let everybody go that needs to go so
Yeah.
that you can safely travel. I know, we know this is the highlight of everybody's day, right? Our action item is consideration of approval of a $5,000 donation to Grants High School Scholarship Fund from Continental Divide Electric Cooperative.
Yes,
Mr. Widener.
and I promised Mrs. Elkins we would be short tonight, because she's probably got stuff going too, but anytime we get these donations, we want to bring them to the board. This is a great donation from Continental Divide. GHS is planning to utilize the funds for their scholarship night and awards. So I would recommend that we graciously accept the donation from Continental Divide.
Excellent. And did you notice Dr. Archambault is on with us now as well? All right, so Superintendent Widener, I know you gave a little spiel, but is there also a recommendation, sir?
I recommend that we accept the donation.
Wonderful. Board members, is there a motion to approve the $5,000 donation to Grants High School Scholarship Fund from Continental Divide Electric Co-op?
So moved.
Thank you. And then a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. It has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Mr. Ortiz to approve the $5,000 donation to Grants High School Scholarship Fund from the Continental Divide Electric Co-op. Is there any discussion, board members? All right, hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Shambo? Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Aye, the motion carries. Presentations, sir.
Awesome. It is our monthly meeting where we do our first of the month meeting. Thank you, Mrs. Elkins.
You're good, we gotcha.
Do you want to give?
Well, do you want to give us the speech?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to give your speech?
Come on.
I thought you would like that. Okay, good. Oh,
Our first presentation tonight, it's time for a DASH plan. We have these at the first meeting of the month, and tonight we're going to be getting a double DASH plan from Cabero Elementary School and Cebolleta Elementary School. And so it is my honor to turn the floor over to Principal Monica Martinez.
welcome. It's a packed room.
Kind of sad. It's okay.
All right.
Okay. Good evening, Superintendent Mr. Widener, School Board President Mrs. Lee,
Thank
school
you.
board members, community members. We are excited to be here tonight. We were gonna have more teachers show up, but we had after school, of course, with the weather. But,
Yes.
And Ms. Baloo, our instructional coach here tonight. So we are excited to share what we have been doing at both of our schools. So, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so our first slide shows our goals for our DASH plan. And so our goals are tier 3 interventions and also data-driven instruction. And so they do align. I'll explain how they align and then I'll explain a little bit about how we do that. So they align with two goals, goals 1 and 2, which are foster student excellence and academic achievement with a curriculum that recognizes our cultural diversity. And also goal 2, which is instill excellence in teaching and leadership. And so by addressing these two focus areas, we're looking really closely at instruction. We are using data to both drive our instruction and also to help us find communication skills that are not quite ready to be. And so that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, we have great things happening at Cabero. At Cabero, our students have made growth in both reading and in math on the iStation assessment for kindergarten and second grade, and on the IMAS assessments for grades 3 through 6. Our most outstanding growth so far has been a 19% growth in math at the beginning, and on the IMASA math assessment, beginning of the year and end of year. So we are super proud of that to students and staff that we're trying to get this there. We are also celebrating, we have 3 students who will be participating in the regional science fair. And Miss May, our 5th grade math teacher, she is helping getting the kids ready, and we've been helping the kids by interviewing, and she just wants to make sure that they are prepared, and she is going above and beyond getting the kids ready. So we are grateful for her and wish them the best of luck this weekend. We are also hosting the math showdown in May, which I hope all of you can come and be a part of. Maybe we can do some judges. Give you the answer key, don't worry. And also our community is great, they're very supportive, and my staff at Camaro and at Cibola, you know, they always go above and beyond when we are short-staffed. They don't mind just jumping in and covering, they don't question. I mean, I am truly grateful for them. This is my 4th year as principal, and I could not ask for a better staff that I have for both sites. And also what we are doing for Cabero and Cibola is Check and Connect, which our counselor, do you want to stand up real quick and talk about Check and Connect?
Sure. Check and Connect is something that's actually been around and was introduced at PBIS. It has been nationally accepted as the functional behavior plan. They actually call it the functional behavior plan because it, on a daily basis, each of the day measures the success a student is having based upon the expectations of the school. We call them the ABCs: act respectful, be responsible, and create a safe environment. And these students have an opportunity in real time to experience those expectations. It sinks in, and the student, along with the rest of the team, which would be the counselor in this case, the principal, academic coach, and most of all, the parents. The students change their behavior to something that was negative before to something very positive during the process.
And it's a great tool that we can hold our students accountable, and then they take it home and their parents are able to see how their child was throughout the day, and then they bring it back to us. So thank you, Mr. Kate, for implementing that for both schools.
Thank you.
Okay. So, no, that's okay.
And we're done.
And we're
Thank you.
Bye-bye. No, we want to share some great things that are also happening at Samantha Elementary. And so, again, we had growth in our interims in all subjects. So for iStation K2 and then IMASA 3-6, we saw growth in reading and math, but our most outstanding growth was a 31% growth in iStation reading from beginning of year to mid-year. So we thought that was really nice. We are so happy, this might sound silly, but we're so happy that we're fully staffed, like we have all our positions filled, like we're good. Our 2 teachers, Mr. and Mrs. Baton, are here, and so we now have all 4 teachers. So that's a celebration in itself. And again, our amazing staff and community support. It's such a nice little community, and that school was kind of like the hub, and so it's always so nice to feel the support from the staff and also the community. And again, Check and Connect, Mr. Kate has implemented that there as well. And I wish we had brought the form because the kids have to check in with an adult every hour. So if we're noticing that students are having a little bit of an issue with behavior or just self-regulation, implementing that is so helpful because they have to take their form up to an adult. So
Right.
it's either a teacher, if it's recess time, it's the assistant, and they are rated on their behavior and their performance. And so
It's been a really great support.
And a good email. Lorraine, copy of it.
Yep.
Thank you. That'd be
And
great.
Put the information into Synergy.
Nice. Very good.
Next slide, and thank you.
Well, and-
You said 5 or 7 minutes. I'm trying hard. Yes.
Thank you.
Go make dinner.
Board members, they have great things going on their campuses all the time. They do cultural celebrations, they do heritage celebrations. They're doing great things with social emotional and
Yes.
academically, their kids are working hard. We're very proud of the work going on at Cubero and Cebolleta. So, thank you guys for presenting.
Thank
Well,
you.
I like to mention something is I like that tool that you came up with where you're evaluating on a daily basis, or, at the end of the day, the parents know, where your kid, or where he knows or she knows where they're at. And I like to mention too that the Tigers were in the championship for basketball and they were a good little team.
Yes, got second place, right?
Yeah,
We
they-
lost to
To my team.
Yes. to your team.
But anyway, tell them congratulations and they played very well.
Yes, thank you.
And you didn't bring the robot this year.
No robot, no.
We didn't think we were allowed. We didn't think 5 to 7 minutes to do the robot.
Yeah.
So we're stuck with
We'll
us.
have to have you come back again.
You'll have to bring him to hang out with us one.
Yeah.
One
Yes.
half showed up, you will make an appearance.
Oh,
Perfect.
perfect.
We'll be there and we'll volunteer to help.
Okay.
Board members, any questions? I was checking my board members online. Any questions, board members?
I think you only have Mr. Ortiz online.
No, Guy and Ron are both on.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess Cooper would be a good math judge.
Thank you all very much for being here. We appreciate your time, and you all be careful heading home. Dr. Archambault was on his way and he turned around to go back home because he said the snow was really starting to come down. So you all be very careful heading back.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies, gentlemen.
Yes. Thank you all.
He never knows what I'm volunteering for.
I'm sad that Mrs. Hunt Daly isn't here because I know she likes to kind of keep her hand on the pulse of technology and I asked Mr. Jones and Mr. Tafoya tonight to come and give us a technology update. Let us know where we're at and kind of what we're doing, what great things are happening with technology, so.
So speaking of technology, Dr. Archambault says that it's very hard to hear right now. Do we need to turn
Need to turn the mic up,
the microphone up?
podium. The lectern, whatever the thing's called.
Madam President,
Difficulties badge.
We're trying to turn the volume up for you, sir.
well, excuse me, Madam President, it's the presenters. I'm not sure why, but
But you need
it's
to
not
move
as, it's not as loud and I've got my volume up as high as I can. So whenever they stand there at the podium, unless they speak softly, they just need to speak louder.
You got it.
Are we?
How are we, Dr. Guy? Is that better?
We'll find out once they get started. I just need to hear the presenters and see if they are, if the volume has increased.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
Mr. Jones increased it over on the side. Thank you for letting us know there was a problem with it.
Right. Let me start to kick it off. Yes. Yeah, please do. Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Widener, this is a victory lap of sorts to get a technology update. I'm gonna share something that was previously confidential. When Ms. Lightfoot came, she surveyed all of the employees and all of the sites and basically said, what are the things that are absolutely going right within the school district? And she had shared with me that the technology department was the #1 selection of those things. And I just want to give a shout out to Isaac. Isaac, Scott, Esteban, Nathan, Aaron, Stephanie, for everything that they do day to day. There's a lot of work that goes on from 7:30 to whenever they clock out, which isn't always 5 o'clock, to keep our students up and running and to keep our teachers up and running. And Isaac is the boss. I defer to him for most things technology, and he is doing and has done a fabulous job keeping everybody connected and tapped in. I'll also add periodically we have vendors that come in and kind of assess our network and kind of see where things are. And we have so many compliments about our infrastructure and how secure our network is, which really matters because we have a lot of student data that flows through our network, and it's strong. So I'm gonna kick it over to Isaac as he's prepared the bulk of this. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt either of us and just say, hey, what's this or what's that? One thing that he'll get to later is AI policy, which just really quickly, that's something that we can draft, and I hope that we can present that to you a little bit more polished. We provided those drafts to you, and you should have a copy of both the student AI policy and the staff AI policy for reference. Nothing set in stone, so this is, if there's something that you love, circle it, put hearts around it. If there's something that you don't, please kick it back to us so that we can formulate those things. But Isaac, the floor is yours.
Awesome.
And I'll change slides for you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, for that very warm welcome. I appreciate it. And thank you all. Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent, members of the board. I'm pleased to be here to give you guys this technology update today. So let's dive in. So the district, as you all know, is making significant strides in improving the tools and services that are used across the technology infrastructure. We are transitioning away from Sharp business systems currently and replacing their tools and support with more efficient and cost-effective and functional solutions to better meet the needs of our students and our staff. Key update number 1, which wraps around our Destiny Help Desk implementation. It's great to add that this is a system that we're all familiar with, Destiny. We're just moving it, migrating it into the cloud, and we're gonna utilize some new features and tools that are available in the cloud, like the help desk piece. So we're implementing this new system that will streamline our help desk ticketing process and improve inventory tracking, ensuring faster response times and enhanced service management for both staff and students. So very excited about this one. And key update number 2, Sophos antivirus solution. We will be deploying a more robust, secure antivirus solution from Sophos. Its name is an interesting name, but it comes with a 24/7 managed detection and response service, which is great. And this will greatly enhance our cybersecurity posture by proactively identifying and responding to threats around the clock. Another awesome thing to add, in addition to this AV solution, we're gonna get access to comprehensive security awareness training for all staff and students. This training is included in the package, so that's no cost, additional cost, which I was also thinking it would be. And it's gonna help us strengthen our community and district's understanding of the cybersecurity best practices. So item number 4 is, I'm excited about this one because the district was awarded it's a pilot program that we all know we're an E-rate district. So E-rate started a pilot program wrapped around cybersecurity this year, and they're doing a pilot. $200 million is on the table for people to apply and see if we can, get access to that fund to help us with our cybersecurity initiatives. And we were one of, I believe, three schools in the state selected for an innovative 3-year program focused on cybersecurity, highlighting our commitment to protecting student and staff data, our infrastructure, and innovation. While the exact funding amount is yet to be determined, this opportunity strategically positions the district as a leader in cybersecurity education and preparedness. So, very
Isaac,
excited about that.
would you mind for our audience reminding everybody what E-rate is?
E-rate is a funding source, federal funding source offered through the FCC. USAC is the provider, I guess, the people we deal with and work through to get this funding for schools and libraries throughout the country.
Thank you.
So, yeah, you're very welcome. Fifth and the final update I have is around policies and procedures. So as part of our ongoing commitment to secure an effective technology environment, we will be updating and creating new technology policies and procedures. This will include guidelines on the AI usage and tools by students and staff, ensuring ethical and responsible use of emerging technologies within the school system. And of course, these changes reflect our commitment to enhancing operational efficiency, safeguarding our digital environment, and preparing our district for future technology needs. And we look forward to keeping the board informed as we continue to roll out these improvements. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to take them on at this point, but if not, that's all I have for you for today.
Thank you.
I'll brag really quickly if I can.
Okay, sure.
So the E-rate application was available to basically any school, especially those with a history of doing E-rate. And that application was not simple. And that's something that Isaac and his team took on, and they found all of those things. So when they had heard about what we kind of wanted to do and moving towards a stronger antivirus, and they really loved that we were working with like web filtering with Securely and things which our students are using now. It was all that team that did that. And for the director of finance hat, that is money in the bank, right? So we spend that money within the categories that they give us, and they reimburse us typically. This is not that way. This is something that's based on a student count that we get money and then we justify those expenses. So this is a super awesome thing for our school district.
Excellent.
I'm gonna try to utilize it for these initiatives that we have laid out here with the, our new antivirus solution, the MDR, the managed detect and response solution, and some security awareness training, which are all gonna be huge impacts for our district moving
Excellent.
forward. So I'm excited about that.
Very good. Dr. Archambault?
Yes, Isaac, Mr. Tavoya, thank you for the presentation, and Mr. Cooper. Would you give me a quick history of our antivirus initiatives for the last year or so? Because you've said that we've moved to a new system.
Sure. Yes, sir. We were using, trying to think of the name of it before, I don't know why it's slipping my name. Starts with an S. We're moving away from Sentinel-1. That's the one we're currently using through Sharp, because our antivirus license had expired. So started moving away from our previous antivirus that we were using for a few years. And then Sharp offered an antivirus through their managed detect and respond platform, and it was called Sentinel-1. And that one we were using for about a year now. It never did fully integrate with the entire network, and which causes a big problem. We wanted to cover the whole network. So that was one of the problems that we had with our current solution, along with their detect and respond solution, which we didn't really find a lot of threats, and things that I was aiming for this year didn't really happen. So we are moving forward with a new solution, similar tools, but at a more functional level, and a team that I believe is going to support us at a high level. So, yes.
Mr. Cooper and Mr. Tafoya, what were the costs that we incurred with the previous company, approximately? Do we seem to be? We seem to have shifted away from that. I know about 2 months ago we discontinued, I believe, the help desk, and what is remaining was the antivirus service.
Correct. The help desk service was around $13,000 a month. The antivirus, which they had server protection, they were also updating our servers. They had all that kind of lumped together, and that was around $14,000 a month. this will be a huge cost savings for the district to do it this way. And it's customized to our group. I mean, it's customized to our landscape, where the previous solution was really for kind of cookie cutter type stuff. We're gonna apply this and we'll see what it works. So when Isaac said that his concern, I guess, with what we were using is we weren't getting security updates, is Isaac sees security threats. And it's one of those things where like, well, you should have told me that this was happening on our network and you didn't. So now we can customize what kind of assessments that they do on our network, so we know if there are vulnerabilities, so that we can fix it, so that we can, it's good to have third-party eyes every now and then, because they can kind of keep us in check and, hey, this is where you should be looking. And this will function a little bit more collaborative
And
than our previous supplier.
do we have a new cost?
We do not. So we are in the process, the director of finance is somewhat of a stickler when it comes to getting 3 quotes for like services. So we have 2, we're waiting on a 3rd before we can present this to the finance committee and make a decision. But full disclosure, I don't know that it will need board approval. I think that it is under the $60,000 threshold, depending on the package. And you can correct me if I'm wrong.
But we are covered right now.
Correct, yeah,
That's-
so because, and Isaac can explain this more in depth than I can, but because of the systems that we use, we have Microsoft Defender all the time. So we're not exposed currently, it's not one of those things where there's a security threat. What we're doing is we are trying to customize our service to fit what our needs are. So we are still protected.
Yes.
Madam President, I thought I heard this about 2 years ago when that other company came in and we were persuaded that its product was going to be quite an effective approach. And we spent a great deal of money. And now we're going to a new one. When we mentioned, I think you just mentioned, Mr. Cooper, that we have Defender on there, and we've always had Defender. And so I'm just questioning whether or not we had made a mistake when we actually went out and developed a relationship with that other company. And we could have probably done this much more sooner with Mr. Tafoya's capacity to find solutions without having expended so much money.
I agree 1,000%, and that's what I'll say, that the difference then versus now is, not knowing the whole history then, is the technology team has sat down with these people and asked all of these questions. I mean, there are evaluation committee of sorts to say this is kind of what fits our model, where like the Sharp Business Solutions proposal did not go through the proficient people in terms of technology. I mean, that was something that was done kind of to them rather than for them, where this is a tool for the technology department to strengthen our landscape.
It's definitely important to note that we have access to this MDR, we're not just, being managed and monitored from an external entity. We have credentials and we could get in this one, and we're gonna be involved with it, and we're gonna be able to not just learn from this, but be involved in getting guided to, patching the network where it should have been getting patched for the past year or 2. Another important thing to note is breaking those contracts early before that 3 years saved us a great deal on that initial expense that was brought to you guys for that original services. So getting away from that for this during the first year is, a good thing, that we're getting away from that and opening up a new relationship with another vendor. And we did vet quite a bit, and we're very excited to move forward with the one we chose. And if this one doesn't pan out to be what we hope, which I doubt that'll be the case, but we always, we'll have another year on, I only asked for a quote for 1 year, which I'll be getting to very soon. And yeah, I believe that I answered those questions. Did you have any other questions?
How is the system, what are you using, Red Bolt, or what are you guys using here?
For internet access?
Yeah.
currently we are using Lumen for our primary circuit. We do have a Red Bolt circuit on standby, sitting in the background just in case Lumen goes down. Right now, we have an open 470 for those services, and I'm hoping that Lumen and Red Bolt are working on a proposal, because I'm starting to receive proposals for the internet access in our WAN, our wide area network that connects all the schools back to the data center for internet access. And the new one that I've been working on, finished part 2 of that application for the pilot this morning, so moving right along. We'll be doing the 470 next, or the 471, whichever one comes first. I'm still learning the ropes, but you know, we gotta do that one next, and then we'll be opening up, getting some funding to support this initiative, which is
Yeah.
gonna be another huge cost savings on top of what we've already, you know, saved by moving into this new relationship, so.
I mean, that's the direction we're going, and we have that same trouble in our house, you know, so I was just wondering what you're using for the internet, you know. Good job, and what was the services, I know, Cooper wasn't here, but maybe Guy would know. Sharp we were here for Sharp, but was there one before Sharp?
Sharp has been a
I think can
while.
answer that.
Before Sharp, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, like Guy said, that we've been changing vendors, I'm not sure where, you know.
Oh, at the same time, through Sharp and Arctic Wolf were both purchased to do something very similar to what I'm presenting today. Sharp was doing the help desk and the patch management systems, like an RMM help desk type thing. And Arctic Wolf was doing the active monitoring of the network and supposed to be responding to those incidents and, you know, working with me and my team to patch those problems that they found. But over a whole year, I have not been guided towards one problem unless it had come from our team internally on spotting and identifying any issues. So I'm very confident with this new system and that we're gonna be very happy using this new tool and service. And I'm gonna be really putting them to work, I'll tell you that.
Madam President,
Yes, Guy?
what I'm not pleased with is the manner in which we went with Sharper. Was it Sharp something? Because they came in and they did an appraisal and an assessment, and I looked at it, and I didn't feel that it was it really reflected what it is that we needed. And we had a technology department that could make its own assessment as to whether we were doing a good job or not. But we were persuaded by that company that what they had was going to be the best thing since you know what, and it wasn't. We committed ourselves to that. My concern is how you go about appraising what our technological needs are and setting up criteria by which you make a decision as to whether or not we need to acquire new services or whether or not internally the technology department has the capacity to undertake any kind of improvements to the system. Whenever we must realize that vendors do come in and they do attempt to persuade us that what they've got is very would be the best thing that we should have, and that's what I think we did. We did not really have we were new at this whole thing, and we were not aware that maybe the technology department could have developed its own assessment of whether or not the services that we have discontinued were necessary. And so I need to, when we are going to go acquire new services, it's important for the board to feel that the expenditure is worthwhile and has been based upon credible criteria that you have made the evaluation of those new whatever it is that we are considering. I don't want to go down this direction again where we expended a great deal of money and get to that point where you're going to come back to us in 2 years and say, well, that wasn't any good. Just be careful.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Board members, I would really like to express my gratitude to you all because when we adopted the big show that we had last, or I want to say it was last fall, I'm sorry, it was last summer.
It was.
We did a 3-month trial, and we did a 3-month evaluative trial where Isaac and his team were working very hard looking at what bang we were getting for our buck. And it was pretty quick, we realized that there wasn't a lot of that. And so Isaac has since kind of taken more of a leadership role in technology, and we're very excited to
Very thankful.
have him in that capacity and kind of vetting what we are using in technology, and that our network is so strong and well managed.
Safe.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the thing I finally remembered, it was Semantic, was our original antivirus that we ran out of subscription and went to the new one that Sharp provided, and now we're gonna try something new, which is cybersecurity initiatives are constantly evolving and moving, and since cybersecurity is such a big thing over the recent years, that's another reason to say that a small team like ours can definitely benefit from a system like this, to have a third eyes on the network and still have access to their same systems from our angle, you know. That's the key point, where, you know, we're gonna be able to have more control and say so over our network when, like it should be, right? That's how you truly secure a landscape like this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again, and if you don't.
Anything
have
else,
more-
board members?
Oh, good job. Like I said, those guys, you guys were helping Sharp, you know, in some places, you know, Cooper was telling us that, you know, there were some times that you do more than they did, yeah, which is good to know.
A lot of those security findings on their original eval were knocked out of the water before the first week was up through my guy Scott at the office, so. You know, and a lot of that was just needing to be explained more so than a threat. It was just, you know, a lot of stuff was just cleanup that we've been needing to do and we were aware of, so.
Yeah.
It would have been a different story had we been aware of the audit that was coming our way during that week.
Yeah.
But definitely.
Well, good job.
Definitely good stuff coming. I'm excited.
Mr. Ortiz, I see your video is on. You're muted. Did you have something to add, sir?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to thank Mr. Jones and Mr. Tafoya and his staff for the work that they do for our technology department. And I know that Mr. Tafoya has really stepped up on that department because we were having some issues, and I had an opportunity to talk to him, and I've really seen the difference of where our technology department is going, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited to take on this new role. I'm feeling more empowered and I'll be more effective to you guys in this role. I could feel it already. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you and all you're doing.
Thank you.
Have the floor back. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
All right.
Mr.
Thanks, Isaac.
Wagner?
Our next presentation, we have asked Mr. Jones if he could come and present on our current budget. I think Dr. Archambault has asked a couple of times that he'd like to see this year's budget and kind of what we're working with. And so I asked Mr. Jones if he could supply that. We've got budget in the drive, and he's got kind of a short presentation, but I want him to talk about our budget, and I want you all to have that in your hands so you can look through it and own it.
Thank you, sir.
He said short. He meant to say one slide. Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Widener, the budget is massive. So it's a little bit of trial and error here. You can't offend me. In your drive, you should have the 22-23, 23-24, and our 24-25 budget.
Yes.
It's in two separate formats. The technology or the accounting software, if you will, that we use has a board member report built into it. That's something that's customizable. That's something that can change. So if you need more details or less details, send me an email and I'm happy to provide that for you. We are in budget preparation mode, and I would like to extend an invitation to the members of the board to attend our spring budget workshop. It is at Sandia Resort and Casino, and those dates are April 9th, 10th, and 11th. If you do want to attend, if you would just email Ms. Sandoval, please. Preferably by Friday is when we're gonna make all of those reservations and get all the conference registrations done. There's a tight squeeze in there. The 11th is when that conference ends, and unless we get an extension, and by we, I mean all school districts, our budget is due the 15th. So we'll find out all of the legislative things, which I know that Mr. Widener is gonna touch on some of the legislative updates in his portion. But what it's looking like right now is that all employees across the board will get a 4% raise. And then the level 1, level 2, level 3 will be raised to 55, 65, 75. We're there, so the 4% is more advantageous for our employees. Mr. Widener asked for me to touch on one specific thing in this portion of the presentation, and that's our alternative revenue. And this is last year's figures, but these figures should be relatively unchanged, especially we call it wind farm and solar. Those things are locked in until the end of the industrial revenue bond, which should be 2050. And I know that the county worked with the school district on the Red Mesa Wind. So we get $312,500 from the wind farm, and that's annual. We get $128,700 from the Solar Energy Center, and then we call it Forest Service because it's the last thing that's mentioned. That's $336,399. So the cool thing about this money is directly given to the school district. So this is the money that we can use when we do staff recognition, and this is the money that buys furniture for our staff and those sorts of things, because it's not specific to students and it's also not taxpayer funds. So we have a little bit more freedom with how we can spend these funds. Based just on this, it's around $700,000. I know that there is a concern in our community that federal programs are being restricted and may potentially go away. This is a drop in the bucket to our total state and federal programs that we receive, but this is something that we could use to offset in the event that we lost anything. So in my research, it's all murmurs at this point. There's not necessarily any guidance or statement saying that federal funding is going away. I just think that with the current political feel, there are some concerns that those things may be restricted or limited. And the school district has these three avenues in which we can generate revenue separate from our SEG, separate from our transportation, and then separate from, money that is tied to student specific. So we have a lot of flexibility here.
Thank you.
Happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I'll reiterate that I cannot be offended.
Madam President?
Yes.
Yes, on this alternative revenue, is it maxed out? Is there any left over, like for savings, or do we use it like right down to the wire? How does it usually happen with this?
So this is something that we budget to spend, but don't necessarily always spend, because we try to safeguard those things. So it's not something that we don't necessarily have to spend $750,000 this year. I need to look, and I'll comment on this as well. Because we're in year 24, 25, pulling a budget report now is really ugly. I'm happy to do it, and you have one of the versions. The other version is atrocious. So this is something that I know firsthand since I took on this role in November. We have spent a total of like $100,000 of the $700,000 in the last 4 months. So it's not something that we always spend.
And it can't be taken away by
No. it's ours.
Anybody, it is once it hits the bank, so to speak, it is there. It cannot be taken back,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
The other thing that is perhaps a separate presentation, because you asked about like, what can we do with this money, is the school district has the bond capacity that voters have already approved to issue an additional $10 million, which is a revenue source of sorts. It's debt issuance. And we can use that for capital projects as long as they're specified within that bond. We also have an investment account. School districts have the ability to invest according to the state guidelines, and we have an investment account where we get interest, we get dividends monthly that help us offset our operation fees as well. And I can give you that breakdown if you would like that. That's something that's pretty interesting to look at. And that helps with the one-off things that we don't think about, like Miss Sandoval's car breaking down on the way here. You can't necessarily budget for everything. So because we have the revenue that's coming from these investments, her district car breaking down, that's something that we can send to the shop and get taken care of without worrying about breaking the bank.
That wind farm wood, is there like a cost of living? Has it changed or has it stayed this price?
So from what I saw, and granted, I looked in our audits that we got from Byron Manning for those figures, it has stayed the same. I know that you had participated kind of in brokering that deal and helping the school district out. I'm not sure what the history is or the language in that contract that says that it adjusts or any of those
It
things.
is supposed to adjust, because as they add more windmills in, then it should.
Because they're generating more power, which,
trickle down to the schools, but I'm not sure who's
yeah.
the gatekeeper on that, you know?
We'll have to chat after the meeting, and then I'm happy to call up the county and say, hey, explain this to me.
Right.
And how does this work?
Cause I know, it's been over 16 years when it started. I don't know if you know exactly, but I know every 5 years they're supposed to go back and cause it's supposed to go up, cause they're supposed to be selling more and they're supposed to be adding more at the same time with those solar panels also.
Sure.
Cause I know this one fluctuates down here, your oil and tax revenue, that one's always changes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the wind farm would should too.
Okay.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Jones?
Madam President, I'm looking at the information
Yes, sir.
and there's about 5 different, see, 1, 2, 3, some of them. And so I have an idea what it is that we're seeing in some of them. When I look at the 11 of operational, that's typically the bulk of the budget. And that's what I think the board would be extremely interested in, because that's where most of our instructional staff and the central office people are budgeted under. So what you've done, Mr. Cooper, is, Mr. Jones, you have given us 24, 25, and then 23, 24. And it shows under 23, 24, $54,998 in revenue, and expenditures were 54, about the same. So I have to talk to you about, I have to figure out how meaningful that is. Okay, when I go to the budget reports, the spreadsheet there, it has the account numbers. And it shows the expenditures. And then see, I'm looking at 23, 24, 22, 23. Let's take a look at 22, 23.
Sure.
just looking at the first one, 11,000, we have a initial budget of $47 million. And I see at the end at 6:30, the budget balance was $9,251,732.01. So 19.62% of the budget was remaining. I believe that's what it's saying.
Will you
I think it'd
restate
be-
that again, sir?
I'm just reading the first row of the 22-23 budget. That's all. I'm just looking at that.
Okay,
And it says the GL budget is $47,152,031. Do you see that?
yes, sir.
And then the range to date is 37, then the year to date 37, balance is 9.992. And the encumbrance. Now, let me ask you the question, Mr. Jones, is are we saying in this one that there was an unexpended balance of $9 million out of the 11,000 account?
Yes, sir. So I can explain as much as I know. So our 22-23 audit actually flagged this as a finding, and we had to go and basically do corrective action saying that we wouldn't let this happen again and we would fix it. So it has been settled with the state. I don't know that that is reflected here. I'm happy to provide that audit as well so that you can see the specific note, but I know that the school district was flagged because it should balance. This is what we budgeted, this is what we spent, and it should be really close, especially if you're managing your budget well. So that is a discrepancy. That is something that the prior regime had handled. But I'm happy to provide context on that as well.
I need to see the information at some point, but I'll talk with Lane and you about, and Francie too, but
Happy to.
looking into that. But see, we didn't hear, I don't recall the board being informed of that problem. So, but that's the first thing that caught my eye when I saw that.
Sure.
So I'm going through all of these and finding there are others, but the most important one is the 11,000 account because that's where much of our typical instructional expenditures are for staffing.
Correct.
Then I'm going to go to 23-24. And 23-24, we see that the budget 11,000 is $60,518,201.18, and year to date we've expended, I believe, 43 million, have a balance of about 16,993. There's some encumbrances, and so it says to date. Now that's for 23-24.
Correct.
We are operating under the 24-25, am I correct?
We are.
Where's that? Or do you have a copy of that, or did I overlook it?
There is a copy of that budget. It's in a different format because the system is open until basically we spend those dollars. So I can generate that report July 1. Unless you want it
Should be able to do it.
fund specific. So if you want just the 11,000, I'm happy to provide the 11,000 budget. What it looks like on that form that you're looking at, that template, it's
Right.
it's not great how it's built out. And that's something that we can change as well. That's something that we can go in, and there is a certain level of customization here. Whoever generated the budget report for the board, these were the items that they thought was fit. If you would like a separate report that outlines just the 11,000, I'm happy to do that as well.
Board members, if you go through that one, that kind of outlines in a very visual way all the different funds. And And that's why he says that the pages would probably, we'd kill a couple of trees trying to get it all in print on paper. But if we just look at operational, I think that's the most critical one.
Okay,
That's the bulk of it, as we can tell. And a lot of those others are restricted funds. They're associated with specific purposes, either federal or state. And but by and large, when we talk about building the budget, what we're going to see over there in Albuquerque, I think in the budget workshop, they're going to talk about operational. And
They are, and Dr. Ashambo, I appreciate your commentary. I apologize for not providing a key, because I know what the 11,000 account is, but if you are not familiar with the uniform chart of accounts, that means nothing to you. So I will provide that as well, where it says the 11,000 is operational and the 13,000 is transportation and the 15,100 is impact aid. That way you can see what those accounts are specifying.
yeah, and so when we look at 11,000 in operational, that's geo.
Correct.
That's what we fight about every year in the state legislature. We also are concerned with pupil transportation. And we heard board members, when we were in Santa Fe, do you recall? There were some comments about pupil transportation, I think in a couple of our workshops, that some of the school districts felt that they weren't getting sufficient funds in order to cover the costs. That always seems to be the case. So we need
Especially the rural, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember?
It was, I don't want to say it was a hot topic, sir, but it was certainly one, very, very vocal up.
Yeah, and so we will need to see how that plays out. We need to, because that is a high cost item that is a critical service to our communities, getting our kids to school. And it's only about getting our kids to school and back. It has nothing to do with getting them to games. It's separate. So I think it's important for the board to see the breakdown of the 11,000 fund.
Okay.
And if we could sit down and maybe just kind of visualize what it looks like in a couple of days or so. Lane, what do you think?
I'm happy to.
I think that's great.
Which years would you like?
Well, we need to see what our where we are to date with respect to our current budget. What I asked was, are there any line items that are causing us concern? Are we getting close to overexpending any of our line item accounts in operational? But let's discuss that a little bit more in detail. I'll call back Mr. Widener and Francie, and maybe we can set up a meeting where we can explore this more.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I don't have any other comments to make.
Mr. Ortiz, did you have anything, sir? And you are muted.
No, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, board
Mr.
members.
Jaramillo?
Well, no, transportation always changes because fuel prices changes, oil changes, so that is, like they said, it was a hot one because you're always doing budget adjustments to transportation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones. Appreciate your information for us this evening. Mr. Widener, you have the floor, sir.
So, for tonight's superintendent's report, I should have prepared slides, but I had a couple of projects I wanted to share. So, at our meeting on February 18th, I talked to the board about what I had learned at the New Mexico School Board Association legislative conversations. I had attended a workshop on ICE and was kind of we were given the directives as school district leaders that we needed to have an ICE response plan. And so when I got back from the conference, I visited with Mrs. Jones and talked to her about how we needed an ICE response plan. And so what you see in your packets, there is our ICE response plan, as well as a letter that we will send to all of our families, kind of protecting and covering, you know, and what we're going to do to protect their children. Mrs. Jones, I tasked her with having the ICE response plan, and we kind of went off of the template that they showed us. Mrs. Jones, would you like to talk about our ICE response plan, or?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, like we've lined it out step by step. I think we need to go a step further with our staff and make sure that they are fully trained and aware that every member at every school has a responsibility to protect student information, and that we need to come up with the follow-up on that in the event that there is a breach from a staff member, and what those steps as a district would be to address that.
It is, and it is law. It's FERPA law, and we are duty bound to protect our children and confidentiality. And so all of our staff do a vector training early in the school year where they learn about FERPA and they learn about the law, and I need to make sure and reiterate, have a follow-up with every employee, that when you talk about the kids that are in the school, or maybe students from another country in the school, that is a violation of FERPA. And so we need, Mrs. Jones is absolutely correct. We do need another portion here where we conduct staff training, but.
And just to be fair, the letter was Mr. Tripplehorn and Mr. Jones were instrumental in the letter that will got together for you. So it is a group project. You can't give me all the credit.
Well, I'm glad that we have it, and we know what to do if ICE agents do show up at our school. And I will make sure, I wanted to bring this to you all tonight, and then I will be ready to roll it out to the schools tomorrow, and make sure that our principals are aware. The second part of my conversation, my superintendent's report tonight, is I want to kind of give you an awareness that we are really looking closely at Robert Marzano Resources. We're looking at partnering with Robert Marzano Resources in regards to our professional development for our staff. We are looking at our strategic plan. Goal 2 of our strategic plan is instilling good teaching and learning in all of our schools. We are vetting and looking at Marzano Resources, looking specifically at the art and science, the new art and science of teaching, and really teaching our teachers about engagement, classroom management, classroom organization, and we are vetting and making sure that we're on track. What we would do with this partnership, we would have coaches that came into our district, kind of like we did with the SEL 2 years ago. We would bring coaches into our district. They would be in our classrooms. Our teachers would get actual hands-on professional development in their classrooms and support. And it's more cost effective than sending people to trainings or bringing in, you know, a motivational speaker, that kind of stuff. We truly want to help our teachers to be masters in the classroom. In Grant Cibola County Schools, we have a lot of our teachers that are they're non-traditionally trained as teachers. They don't necessarily know about lesson planning, they don't know about classroom management, they don't know about all of the training, because we have a need. So if somebody in our community has a bachelor's degree, we hire them, and this would kind of really help them with that skill, that skill level in the classroom. Mrs. Jones also mentions a lot that we have a bit of a gap because of the pandemic. A lot of our teachers were used to teaching online. They were used to putting things in the Google class and assignments, and we want to see engagement really increase for our kids. We want to keep our kids in school, and so wanted to let you know that we really are looking closely at Marzano. We will probably be bringing some of this to you as in the coming months as we start looking at bringing in our coaches and kind of having multiple professional development days, and this is really to work on strategic goal plan our strategic plan goal number 2, and really help our teachers with professional skills.
Can you give us a little history of what Marzano is for everybody that's not familiar?
Sure. Mrs. Jones, do you wanna?
You can start, I can chime in, or I can start you.
You're
Mr. Marzano, Dr. Marzano has done research. He does a lot of meta-analysis, and so he does research of strategies that work best, and like I guess the best bang for your buck, so to speak, as a teacher in the classroom, and what's gonna get you gains with students and that kind of thing. And so with the new art, science, and teaching, they have it broken down into 3 elements. And within those elements, there are 10 categories, and within those 10 categories, there are 43 strategies that you can apply. So it's kind of the way that teachers will craft lessons, the way that they will set expectations, and that they will evaluate students and have students do self-evaluation. It's everything from the evaluation to the teaching to what happens in the classroom to building those relationships with students to incorporating those strategies that are going to have students engaged and help them. If students are not engaged, what do we do? It gives them an opportunity. It gives the principals, first of all, we give our principals an opportunity. We can select up to 10 categories of strategies that we want to focus on for the first year. And then teachers will set a professional goal, and it could be any of those 43 strategies that they would want to set in their PDP as a professional goal. So we can have district-wide goals, specific like elementary or secondary goals, and then teachers can have individual goals that can all align to their professional development plan, which should align to the DASH plan, which should align to the strategic plan. And this is a way we have vetted that we feel that we could provide professional development to every teacher, pre-K through 12th grade, where every teacher is going to have the same training, the same message, and it's not sending 2 or 3 people out to bring that back, and then you have a few people on your site that are trained and ready and excited. We want district-wide, everybody to be excited so that we are serving every one of our students. It's also going to help us ensure that we are really enriching that tier 1 of MLSS, that students are getting very good instruction, and it will prepare us for those tier 2 and tier 3 interventions as well. So it's a pretty good opportunity. I'm excited about bringing that in and giving our teachers the support, because they are the ones that are in the classroom, and we want to support them as much as we possibly can and let them get that professional development and then set their personal goals as well, so that they can grow to be the very best version of them.
Are there any?
Dr. Archambault, I wanted to let you know that Dr. Marzano and Mr. Dufour have long been partnered together on kind of their educational modalities and their theories. a lot to do with good data conversations and research and best practices. And so that was one thing that I also thought was really appealing about it, you know, how are we going to make sure that our kids are learning what we need them to? And how are we going to assess that? And you know, and how are we going to get them involved in the learning process? And so I'm pretty excited about it. I'm really excited about the idea of everybody really specializing in teaching and that core foundation of teaching. A lot of our CTE teachers have experience in industry. They don't necessarily have that teacher training, and so I think this could be a really great educational system that will help our district to be stronger and have stronger teachers. Sorry to interrupt, President Lee.
That's okay. Questions, comments, board members? I have a question. Are there any districts in New Mexico that have used Marzano, and how long, and have their scores, you know, we're always talking about data. You know, is this something that has been proven in New Mexico successful?
Yes, and I want to take the opportunity to invite all board members to go with me to that district. We can do a work session getaway. We have been invited to go to Gadsden School District in southern New Mexico. They are on the third year of their rollout of Marzano, and they are seeing much success, and their district is really improving. Their teachers are really improving. When I was not here during that snow day last month, I was actually in San Antonio with Dr. Marzano, and kind of there was a whole group, about 20 teachers from Gadsden, that were certifying in these different areas, and it was very impressive. Other schools in the state are also adopting Dr. Marzano. Belen, our neighbor, they are also looking at Dr. Marzano and implementing some Marzano strategies. Farmington also utilizes Dr. Marzano, and so as we roll this out, I want to be sure and invite any and all of you to go with me to those districts and see successes. And in the future, as we have more budget and travel, that kind of stuff, I would invite you guys to go to a Marzano event.
Board members? Guy, I think you're muted. I can't hear you. Nope, now you're muted. Now I'm muted. Now we can hear you.
There, in the state, the state has adopted 4 teacher competency domains. And virtually all of the things that are identified in that handout that you gave us in Marzano are reflected in the domains. What do I mean by domains? It means that when the teachers are expected to apply the competencies that the state has adopted for an effective teacher, and they've been I see. I'm not sure how whether the district has trained the teachers in those domains, but I'm sure that the principals over time, including myself, have realized that we must evaluate and supervise instructors based upon the ability of the teachers to demonstrate competency in those domains. And so what I'm saying to you is that while the Marzano is a very coherent program, it also is the state's competencies for teachers is reflected in many of those elements of the Marzano approach. Dr. Marzano, I've attended many of his workshops in the years gone by. And so he's been, like you said, engaged with various kinds of learning communities in the past and has addressed some of the issues that we've been talking about. I think it's important for the principals and the teachers to become to be a part of the discussion and the decision-making about how best to implement any kind of professional development program that we generate. In all my years, I found that where sometimes when we do a top-down approach, that sometimes teachers and principals don't get up to speed on a lot of these things, and then things fall to the wayside. So we need to ensure that it's a systematic approach that we work with both principals and teachers to have them develop an awareness of what this is all about. How different is it, or how similar it is? Why is it that we're saying that our current instructional supervision of our teachers may need to be bolstered by a model such as Marzano's, and ensure that such an implementation is going to be successful, and that's requires a written plan, a plan that says this is what our instructional model is going to be all about, and this is how we're going to acquaint the teachers to it. What are our objectives? Is there any phase in? Is there any stages? So we need a plan, and that'll be important for us to see.
I agree, Dr. Archambault. I very much think that leading the charge of educational change, it needs to come from our teachers and from our principals. And so we're definitely pursuing opportunities for them, but also I want the board to be in the loop too, and I want you to know, I want you to witness this if you want to see it in action. And so there will be opportunities for that in the future. My final presentation tonight.
If I may.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Archambault, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And I think that tonight, from what I am hearing, is this is a first talk for all of us to get to know what this is. But I would agree. I think that we need to have, buy-in, as we like to say, from the district if this is something that's going to come before the board further down the road in order for us to approve whether, this is something right for the district or not. So I'll look forward to hearing feedback from principals and school sites as to, what they're thinking about this as well. So thank you. Go ahead now, sir.
The final presentation tonight is just the weekly update of legislation that's happening, that's going around. It didn't make it into my binder, so I will let you know. Oh, okay. I will email that to you all. It's not in your binders. I get those weekly updates from the New Mexico legislature, what's going on, where the bills are proceeding. And so I will email that all to you tonight after the meeting.
Thank you.
And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Action items. Our first action item is consideration of approval to purchase individual heating and cooling units for Grants High School. And I see in our board packet, we do have 3 quotes Mr. Jones,
We do, yes.
Mr. Widener, do you have a recommendation for us, sir?
Yes, we talked about this in our last school board meeting. I didn't have price quotes at the time. There are 3 quotes. The lowest price quote is Conti. I presented this with our board finance committee meeting, at our board finance committee meeting on Friday. I don't see the Conti quote.
I know, it's only for 10, it isn't the full amount. Because the Conti quote, we had talked initially about 30 or 40 units.
Yes, it
And this
is-
one is not everything, this is for 10.
It is not.
Okay, we're going to make sure that we can find that quote. Do we have that quote? Do I have that quote? Do you have that quote?
Yes,
Do you have it, Dr.
Conti.
Archambault? Yes,
Conti, $47,315.40.
But that's
that
not
the
the
one?
full amount, that's for
No,
only
we-
10 units,
the
not.
finance
all of
committee
them.
decided they wanted to bring before the board the quote for 40 of those units. It is over $100,000. If I could, well,
Do you have an email from Mr. Triplehorn? with
That's
that?
what
I
I'm
do.
looking for.
in my office. I do, in my office. Can we take a recess?
I don't see anything here. And that makes it difficult for the board to make a decision.
Yeah.
I agree.
You gotta use my laptop?
I'm on, we
wanna go
don't,
grab my
we
laptop?
don't, I don't know that we have that.
We don't have that.
The
Let's,
only
hold
one
off
hold on, sir. The only one that we have in any of our emails from Conti is only 42,000.
Yeah.
So I, I will make a recommendation
That we table.
that we do indeed table this for our next meeting so that we can have the full quote.
Perfect.
Because Conti was the one, and I agree with you, Dr. Archambault, we should not at this point spring an insufficient quote on the board at this late date. And the one that we are wanting to go with is Conti, so we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna make the recommendation, we table this for
Is there a motion?
the next meeting. So, board members, is there a motion that, I make a motion that we table this until the next meeting, which is March 18th. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. It has been tabled by Mrs. Lee to table this and seconded by Dr. Archambault. And board members, is there any discussion needed? All right, Mrs. Sandoval, roll call, please.
Dr. Archambault,
Yes.
Mr. Hadamio,
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Aye, the motion carries. Next, we will go to consideration of approval of the RFP for board legal services. Mr. Widener?
At this time, I know you guys have worked a lot as a board, working with Mr. Jones, talking about the RFP process and what we needed for our RFP. I believe you all have an RFP that you're ready to move forward with. And so my recommendation is that we publish and send out our RFP for board legal services.
Thank you. Board members, is there a motion to approve the RFP as has been presented in our board packet with any and all changes that have been made.
I'll add just really quickly, the dates will need to change. Those have basically just been waiting for an approval process, and then I'll make sure that I email you all when it is live and when it'll be due, when the deadline is, and all of those things.
And what is your prediction for when you would field this then with these dates? Because it would be helpful for us to make sure that we as the board know when that would happen.
I can get it out as soon as Friday. If not Friday, the Monday we come back from spring break is what I was thinking.
Okay.
But I'm
Set a
open
date.
for suggestions.
Just set a date.
All right, so you heard him, set a date.
We will get it out March 7th.
March 7th.
Perfect.
All right, so I'm gonna restate this. Is there a motion to approve and field the board legal services March 7th? The RFP for board legal services, March 7th.
So moved.
And a second?
Oh, second.
Thank you, sir. It has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Mr. Ortiz to approve the RFP for board legal services March 7th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Ashambo,
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Aye, the motion carries. Consideration of approval to purchase fencing for the Grants High School project.
Look and make sure you guys have that in your books.
Yes, sir. Valley Fence Company, sir.
Okay, let me tell you what this one is. About 9 years ago, GHS had a community service project where their students worked with their staff and the Gear Up program to build the fencing around Grants High School. So this was a long time ago. And then about 3 years ago, the fences were taken down so we could partner with the city of Grants on the walking path and the walking trail that goes around GHS. When the fencing was taken down, and it was around the Pirate Stadium, when the fencing was taken down, it was damaged, it was bent, it's been rusting, and so it's not in as good a shape as it would have been if it were not taken down. Because of safety and security around Grants High School, we would like to pay Valley Fence Company to come in and re-fence the area around Pirate Stadium and Grants High School. The cost on that is $69,180.15. And I recommend that we do fence.
Thank you, sir. Board members, is there a motion to approve the purchase of fencing for Grants High School, excuse me, in the amount of $69,180.15?
So moved.
Thank you, sir. And a second, please.
Oh, second.
Thank you, sir. It has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Mr. Ortiz to approve purchase of fencing for Grants High School in the amount of $69,180.15. Is there any discussion, board members?
Yes.
Sir.
I'm looking at the description. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the proposal. It says we are purchasing 5-foot custom ornamental fence, etc. And I'm trying to determine if there's any projected completion date. I don't see any. When do we think we'll get started and how long will it take?
I don't think it will take long, Dr. Archambault. But it is a metal fence. And so, we would hope that once we pass this, that they would be ready to start working now. They bid it on February 12th, and so we would hope that they would move quickly.
And is this the same company that did the fencing for Los Alamitos? Or is this different?
This is a different fencing company. This is the fencing company that actually had the fence around central office when the flood came and the fencing was moved and on, and so this is that company.
Okay.
And is there a reason we're not going out for any quotes?
Valley Fence Company is a CES vendor, and that, we brought that up in our finance committee meeting, and they're a CES vendor, which means that we can utilize one quote as long as they're the lowest.
Well, you need to make a note of that in the, as we do this. And the reason for not going out for bid is because, and that's all you need to do.
Yep.
So
Correct.
please include that in the motion.
Well,
So all she has to do is to make a note that it is a CES vendor. Thank you.
all right, it has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Mr. Ortiz to approve the purchase of fencing for Grants High School from Valley Fence Company, which is a CES approved company, which means we are able to utilize their singular quote in the amount of $69,180.15 for the fencing project. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Archambault? Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Aye, the motion carries. And now we'll move on to the consent agenda. It is just the bills and expenditures report for February 2025. Superintendent Widener, do you have a recommendation, sir?
At this time, I recommend that we do approve the consent agenda items.
Thank you. Board members, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, sir. It has been moved by Dr. Archambault and seconded by Mr. Ortiz to approve the consent agenda as listed, including the bills and expenditures report for February 2025. We shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Archambault?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Aye, the motion carries. We will move on to announcements, sir.
So a couple of announcements. Next week, March 10th through 17th is the GCCS spring break. March 18th, we will have our next regular school board meeting. On March 26th, 2025, we'll have our early release staff professional development PLC day. And on April 1st, we will have another regular school board meeting. I do believe we are having a special board meeting on March 25th?
20th.
25th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Future agenda items, I have that we will be talking about. We still need to talk about the GCCS disciplinary handbook. RFP fielding.
We took care of, woo.
Yeah, now we've got that handled, so we are going to be looking at the RFPs and the proposals we get. We will need to have more data conversations as assessment. It's testing time in this last 9 weeks. We do want to report on the health and wellness benefits and how we're doing that. Mr. Jaramillo asked that we talk, has that been effective, and is that a good program that we want to keep going forward? The audit report, we need to have our audit report, a CTE update. We need to bring the calendar options to you once they have been voted on by the stakeholders. And
We had audit on there twice.
yeah.
We really want to talk about the
We will be
audits.
talking about the International Science Fair in Columbus, Ohio. We have a long history of sending cohorts of our students to win national, international titles. And so we will have conversations about that coming up. And our students are also going to the State Science Fair in Socorro, and we try to support with that as well.
And I think we have to approve their overnight stay.
Correct.
Because it's out of
Out
the
of,
district.
correct.
Okay.
And it's overnight.
Yeah.
Dr. Archambault and I have been talking a little bit about the Title VI application and the IPAC. Tonight, we got to see our IPAC officers, and we want to make sure that we are getting bylaws out of that group and governance for how they operate. And I've asked Mrs. Jones in the future to talk about the Title VI application and where we are with that. There's been talk about that kind of stuff. So those are future agenda items. I also have our tabled action item from tonight, and I did write that we would like to see a little bit of a current budget with some of the line items with a scale on there as to what we're looking at.
One thing I would like to make note of is I think that it would probably be a good idea to have our security person come. He gave a really great speech to us, or presentation, I should say, to us this last week during our Budget and Finance Committee meeting. And he has a lot of really good updates as far as what the district is doing and what the district could do going forward. So I'd love to have him invited to a future meeting.
Perfect.
Board members, was there anything else that we needed to add for a future agenda items?
10 more things.
Oh.
And I'll echo what she says, we should always have security on our, know what's happening as security in our schools and in our districts.
Yeah.
Safety is an
Madam
important.
President, I'd like to add budget development board. I'm not sure how to say it, but budget development for this coming year. Number 14, number 15, I'd like to have a status on the tribal consultation process, which we've not completed. And also an update and discussion on the IPP. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a list. I'll send you an email.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right. Anything else, Mr. Widener?
I recommend that we adjourn.
Hey, now, thank you, Mr. Widener. Board members, is there a motion to adjourn as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Y'all don't
Second.
want to
Second.
leave, huh?
We don't wanna go outside in the cold.
Oh,
Finally.
thank you. It has been moved by Dr. Archambault and seconded by Mr. Jaramillo to adjourn the meeting as presented. Mrs. Sandoval, roll call, please.
Dr. Archambault,
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz. Mrs. Lee.
Aye, the motion carries. The board has adjourned at 7:28 PM. Thank you all very much for a good meeting.